Welcome to Stories Podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Weldin. Today's story is called Fishing Lessons, an original story based on the adage written for you by Daniel Hinds. Thanks! Enjoy the episode! Fishing Lessons. Once upon a time, a fisherman was walking to the docks, a song on his lips and a pole on his shoulder. His name was Diego, and he had been fishing his little stretch of ocean for decades. He knew what time the tuna had breakfast and when the hogfish went down to sleep. He knew that groupers liked squid, but they'd go wild for canned sardines. He knew when the tides flowed in and when the tides pulled back, leaving bare sand and sweet skittering crabs he'd collect with his wife, Valentina. They made their life from the ocean. It was generous to them, and they tried to be generous to other people in turn. So one day, when Diego passed a man begging by the road, he stopped to talk. The air was cool, and the early buzz of nighttime insects was just beginning to warm its song. Diego was on his way home, so his cooler was full of fresh-caught fish, smelling like brine. "Hello, friend," the beggar said. "My name is David, and I haven't had so much as a nibble in a week. Do you have anything you could spare?" "Wow," said Diego. "A whole week? What happened, friend?" "Well, I went out to fish, to feed my wife and 3 kids, and on the way I saw a bunch of these monkeys all bothering an elderly couple. I went over to help, and the monkeys caught the scent of a tuna on my fishing pole. The lead monkey challenged me to a duel, and of course, I accepted. But in that moment, all I could think of was my wife and my 6 kids. We fought, and after I defended the monkey with some secret moves of my own invention, the other monkeys swarmed me. I fought off 6, 7, maybe a dozen of them. But then the rest beat me up and stole my fishing rod. I chased them all the way back to their hideout in the trees. All I could think of was my wife and my 10 kids at home. I tried to climb their biggest tree, but they fought me off by throwing nuts, and I had to retreat. I haven't been able to fish since." Diego whistled. "That's quite a story, my friend." He paused and reached into his cooler. "I'll tell you what. I had a good day today. Why don't you take this grouper home? That should be enough to feed your family and trade for a new rod, too." David clutched the fish to his chest, tears standing in his eyes. "My friend, thank you. This is too generous." "Not a problem," said Diego. "Take care." He continued home, where he found Valentina waiting for him in the doorway. "Husband," she said, "what did you catch today? I got us a basket of crabs and some fresh avocados." "A few tuna and a grouper," Diego said, hanging up his rod and giving her a kiss. "A man, David, was begging on the road, though. He ran into some trouble and needed food, so I gave him a fish." "What kind of trouble?" Valentina asked. "He was attacked by monkeys," David said. "He tried to fight his way free, but the monkeys overtook him. It sounded like a real battle." "Well, that was kind of you," Valentina said, and left it at that. The next day was rainy, but Diego didn't mind. The rain made the fish mad with hunger. He sat on his dock, huddled under his poncho, and pulled in fish after fish. By the end of the day, he had filled his cooler and had a giant tuna slung over his shoulder. He headed home a little early, grunting under the weight of all his fish, feet splashing in the muddy puddles. "Hello, friend," came a voice from the rain. It was David again. "I don't suppose you could spare another fish, could you?" "What happened? Couldn't you get a new rod?" "Well, I did," said David. "I guess the thing is, I don't really know how to fish." "Don't know how?" Diego said. Most people in the area fished at least a little, if not for food, then at least for fun. Well, I was gonna learn, but one day when I was heading there was a sudden mudslide. The whole side of the mountain started coming down like a chocolate lava cake. Well, I got out of the way, but I saw a family in their car and they were in trouble. My first thought was my 15 children at home, but I couldn't let another family down. So I bravely charged into the mudslide, dodging rocks and debris. A second later, whomp, the whole road got demolished. I was a hero, according to the newspapers at least, but I never did learn how to fish. What a story, said Diego. He slung the giant tuna off his back. Here, take this. My friend, said David, this is much too big. I couldn't. Oh, but I insist, said Diego. It was a good day fishing, and you need to feed all your many kids. David thanked him over and over, but when he got home, Valentina wasn't so happy. No tuna today? Valentina asked, rummaging through the cooler. I was hoping to make us fish tacos for dinner. You know fresh tuna is my favorite. I gave a tuna to David today, Diego said. He was out at the road begging again. He admitted he'd never learned to fish because he saved a family from a mudslide. Wow. Do you really believe all these stories? Well, they seem a little far-fetched, said Diego, but I just feel bad saying no. Even if he's lying to you? He just needs a little help. Oh, you have a good heart. But if David doesn't know how to fish, there's a better solution that will help him even more. What is it? Darling Diego, you're such a kind man, so willing to help any way that you can. You're generous and I love that about you. Darling Diego, I'm glad that you shared, and I would bet David is glad you were there. He couldn't have fed his kids without you. Give David a fish and he'll eat for today. But if you could teach him to fish, then David will be okay. Darling Diego, there's fish in the sea, more than you could catch and bring home to me. Why not share some of your fishing know-how? Darling Diego, if David could fish, he'd have all the meals that his family could wish, without needing to put on all that show now. Give David a fish and he'll eat for today. Teach David to fish and Diego he will be okay. Wow, said Diego. That actually makes a lot of sense. Of course it does, Valentina said with a little smile. How did you get so smart? Just lucky, I guess. She gave him a kiss, and the next day, Diego found David once again by the side of the road. The man was sitting on a log, breathing the ocean breeze and resting his feet in the sandy dirt. Hello again, friend, said David. Do you have a fish for me today? Another fish? Asked Diego. What happened? Well, I went into the forest to look for some food for my 35 children, and you'll never believe what happened. I made my way down this secret trail I found and followed it into the middle of this strange clearing. In the center was a single giant flower bigger than me. I went up to smell it because, of course, there was this enchanting aroma, and when I got close, it snapped down on me like I was a bit of beef. Of course, I immediately thought of my 59 kids. It tried to chew me up, but luckily, I saw this hanging vine. I got hold of it just as the flower tried to swallow, and I managed to pop myself out like a cork." "Quite a story," said Diego, and then he held out a fishing rod. "Whoa, what's that for?" asked David. "No more stories. If you were really in trouble, I'd be happy to help, but we both know your stories aren't true. I know it's hard that you can't fish, but I'm going to teach you myself." "Teach me to fish?" David asked. "You think I could learn?" "You can learn," Diego said. "I can't keep giving you fish, but I can help you catch your own. No one knows this shore better than I do." "Thank you," David said, picking up the rod. "Could we start now?" Diego laughed and led them to the shore. David turned out to be a fast learner, and within a week, he was catching plenty of his own fish. Before long, it was common in the mornings to see him and Diego sitting together on the dock, their lines in the water, and a song on their lips. "He gave me a fish and I ate for the day." "Yes, I did." "And then he taught me to fish and now I am. Now he is okay." The end. Thanks for listening.